I want to welcome Melinda Cohan. So, Melinda, thank you for joining me. So glad to have you here. And I just dropped your book on the floor. We're here because, because we're having a little hard time getting going. This is Melinda's new book. It's on my iPad. Melinda and I have known each other for a very long time. She's been on my mastermind for 6 years or maybe 7 years, a very long time. And so, Melinda, this book, The Confident Coach, why The Confident Coach? Why this book? Why did you write this book? Tell us a little.
It's confident is when I work with primarily coaches, service-based entrepreneurs, anybody that has a skill set that they're sharing with a set of clients, one-on-one or in a group. The biggest thing when they take that step of saying, I'm going to do this as a business, they usually take that step wearing the hat as the practitioner, right? Or the technician, the thing like being a coach. And that's one thing, but running a business is altogether different. And so when they head down that, I'm going to start a business path, overwhelm is the quickest first thing that will often creep in because most entrepreneurs, they don't set out to be entrepreneurs. Some of them do. But the vast majority have gone through their own journey and they're like, I'm going to help other people with this same thing. And so starting a business was maybe not on their radar. And when they understand about what it means to be a business owner, run a business and how that's different than doing the thing they're good at, once they get that, confidence is what they feel. They feel grounded, confident, ready to be of service to the world. But so often when they get started, they're overwhelmed. They're hesitant to put themselves out there. They feel like a fraud. And it's like, I want to get my services out there, but I'm not sure how. And they're at this dilemma. And so the confident coach helps with really all the behind the scenes of what it means to have a business.
So really, it's about going from being a coach to being a successful business owner, successful entrepreneur, having a successful coaching practice. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, because being a great coach, and I use the word coach because that's where I come from, is being a coach for, since 2004. And so I have a special place, but it really applies to any service-based entrepreneur. And it's, being a great coach is one thing. Running a successful coaching business, different mindset, different skill set. And you've got to understand when to put the different hats on. When are you the coach and practitioner serving your clients? When are you the business owner running and leading and building and scaling your business? And it's two different approaches. And so that's what I break down is that understanding and the coach approach to building a business.
And you have been helping coaches build business. I mean, that's been your business for a long time.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, since 2004. Well, actually 2003, coaching found me. I was happy in a job. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I loved my paycheck. I was just very happy. Coaching found me and it was like, this is an interesting thing. It was my natural style to my leadership and management that I was doing in my job. And long story short, I loved coaching, started doing that as a hobby on part-time on the side. And I think the owners of the company that I was working for, that, I was being groomed into leadership and they could see the writing on the wall that I couldn't see yet. So I got fired from that job and started my coach. I'm like, well, I don't want anybody to be in charge of my future. So I'm going to start my business and I'm going to do this. And started coaching and loved working with small business owners, and then realized that while I have a gift for systems and processes and efficiencies, as well as coaching and can blend those together, most entrepreneurs don't. I'm like, I can help other coaches with the business side of things. So I've been doing that for 17 years now. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot in the industry over the years.
It feels to me like the industry's changed radically. And not even just the industry, but the public perception of coaching. This idea of when I learn something, I want to get better at something, I'm going to get a coach. it feels very different from even 5 years ago to me, or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. 5 years ago was really when the peak of the experience age. And it's like, I want to learn how to do something better. I want to have a great experience while I learn it. I'm going to get that mentor, that coach, that teacher, that trainer to help me through that. And now, and I was noticing this even before the pandemic, and that just really accelerated things. But now the new buyer that we're seeing, they're demanding results. They want to have good quality information. They want to have a great experience where they're engaged and not alone anymore, not isolated. And when they make an investment of their time and money and energy, they're demanding results. And so I talk about it in the book, The Results Revolution. And as business owners, we have to really organize our business, our offers, our everything that, whether it's an event, a program, a package, whatever it is, to ensure that our clients get results. It's no longer enough to just say, here's some good information, or to just show up for a session and leave it up to the client. Like, there's a collaboration between the coach and the client that has to exist.
Mm-hmm. And in the book, I was just looking at some notes here. You have two critical questions that you share to answer how to create. It's basically how to be able to make this impact that you want in your business. And can you talk about those questions?
Yeah, as a business owner, we have to understand why our services are a necessity. Like, when we put on the hat of the coach, we love coaching. We're enthusiastic about doing the transformation, seeing the light bulbs go off for our clients and having them experience those ahas and see them get those results. And so we love the process of coaching. But as a business owner, we have to understand why our services are a necessity, because if we don't see them as a necessity, there's no way that we can convey that to our audience and our potential and future clients. And so we have to always be asking ourselves, why are my services a necessity? And if my ideal client doesn't get the change that they need in their life, what are the negative implications? Because when you can understand that, it really solidifies your why. And that why is your beacon. When you're waking up every morning, how do I build my list? How do I figure out social media? What am I doing for my event? How do I launch this offer? All of these things, there's a lot of tasks and details, but it's the answer to those questions and tying it to the why that fuels us and inspires us to keep going through the thousands of tasks that we have to do as business owners.
And I've heard you talk before in the past about, as someone, if you're a coach, if you want to be a confident coach, it helps to have clients. If you're going to have clients, you need to make sales. And I've heard you talk about the idea of objections and sort of that sales conversation,
Yeah.
and how to overcome those objections, or how to work with people through those objections. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the things that I think as coaches, especially as coaches, but even as those service-based entrepreneurs, wellness practitioners, we have and possess a certain skill set. Our core coaching skills allow us to bring what I call a coach approach to enrollment conversations, so that we're being of service to them instead of, trying to manipulate them or convince them or feel pushy. But it's this coach approach to objections, where when we can understand the psychology of what's going on when somebody says some variation of, I can't afford this, or I don't have time, or I need to talk to my spouse, or I don't, this isn't going to work for me, any of those variations. When we understand the psychology of what's really going on, now we can really address the core issue. Most people, when they're addressing objections, they combat the objection by trying to fight the symptoms. And if it's somebody says, I can't afford it, then most people will come back with money solutions. But that money objection, it's never a money issue. What's going on underneath that is the person doesn't yet see the value, right? And so when that person can see the value, they'll make their investment. They'll figure out the money, even though it may not be just sitting on a shelf somewhere, that they're like, hey, how do I spend this? And a quick story, I was talking with a close friend of mine here locally. This is years and years ago. And I've known her for a long time. And she was going to be, we were talking about working together. I was going to be her coach. And she came back, and I know her personal life, and we've been really close friends. And so she came back with this, I can't afford it. And I'm like, Debbie, I actually know a little bit about your bank account, and I know that's not true. And so this was the first time I was like, what's really going on? Why are you so quick to say that? And she was adamant. She was like, no, I can't afford this. I'm not able to afford this. And so she has grandkids. And I said, God forbid, if something were to happen to your grandkids and you got a phone call and you had to go to the hospital, I was like, would you say I can't afford it? She's like, no, I would figure it out. I'm like, aha. Yes, you would. So what's really going on with this? And so we dove into what was really going on. And the more I studied that and was really looking at that, it's rarely, like 99% of the time, it's not a money issue. It's I don't see the value, right? It's not a time issue. So it's like, I need more time. Can I sign up later for your program or your course or whatever? If you combat that with a time solution, it's just going to be this tug of war now it is like you're in convincing mode, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And that's just not fun. But when you remember it's not a time issue, they don't see the priority. It's a priority issue. And so it's going back to and then bringing in the coaching and the guidance to help them get clear. What are your priorities? Is it this? Maybe yes, maybe no. And that's where we can be of service to the person on the other side of the conversation, helping them really get clear with what's really going on instead of using those objections to kind of skirt the issue. And most people, their friends, family members, aren't having these kind of conversations with them. And so it's powerful. And so I talk about the coach approach to overcoming the objections in the book. And there's so many, we can bring our skills to so many parts of our business that helps us be of service. Because when we're in that spot, that's where our confidence really takes hold. And when we can be of service without being attached to the outcomes, now we can serve the audience, the prospect, the client, the referral partner on the other side of the conversation.
Where do coaches struggle getting to be confident coaches? What are the struggle points for them?
The struggle points that I see, I call them villains, and there's three pretty big ones that whenever somebody takes that leap and says, I'm going to start my business, right? They've just taken that giant leap out of their comfort zone. Feels like they've, trying to leap the Grand Canyon. And whenever anybody takes that big of a leap out of their comfort zone, I actually don't care. It could be starting your business or anything. Oliver overwhelm is going to kick in to try to slow you down and back you up to your comfort zone. Fraudulent Frank or comparison Connie is kind of how I call that villain. It's like, well, who am I to do this? They know more than me. Why should I talk about this? I'm just right. And so that takes a hold to kind of slow us down and back us up and retreat us. And Perfect Portia, because so often, especially when we're talking about entrepreneurs and their business, the two things I hear, I want to I want to be professional and credible. I want, this is important when I put myself out there. And so those just come full force to try to slow us down from going too far, too fast out of our comfort zone. And when we don't pay attention to those villains, they do get the best of us. And now we're hiding, we isolate, we slow way down, we say, give up on our dreams and go get that job because we think we're not cut out for it. But it's a matter of just being equipped when you take that leap of commitment and being equipped with the understanding of what does it mean to have a business? How do I need to build my business? And having that knowledge really quiets those villains. And as even when you're new, when we quiet those villains and when we're equipped with the knowledge and resources of what that means, we can be confident. Confidence doesn't have to mean certain. Confidence doesn't have to mean know-it-all. Confidence means I'm going to take this next step. I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to learn. As you've taught me, right? I talk about it in the book that you've taught me. The power is in the debrief. Quickly debrief and then keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think of like confidence as the confidence that you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not like that you've got that you can see 1,000 miles into the distance and you know every step. It's just confidence. I'm going to take this step and figure out the next step.
Yeah. And confidence that you have the go-to resources, the people, the materials, the knowledge. Where do you need to go to get that information? Even just that is like, okay, I don't know the answer, but I know where to go to start getting that information. So I'm not just kind of flailing or flopping about, because then that just wreaks havoc on our confidence.
Can you
A
talk
lot of
about?
people, oh, I was
Go
going to say,
on.
a lot of people confuse when I talk about the word confidence. Uh, a lot of people think confidence means certainty, and that is not true. Confidence and vulnerability really go hand in hand. And I think vulnerability as an entrepreneur is one of our superpowers, secret weapons. Like it's Superman's red cape, right? When we can be vulnerable and show up and transparent, that's where confidence really starts taking off, because then we out ourselves. It's like, I don't know what I don't know, but I'll figure it out, and I've got the places to go to. But I'm going to guide you through this because, by the way, I'm at least one step ahead of where you are, probably 2, 3, 4, or 5. And so we just have to remember that.
Melinda, there's a fine line there because I am all about vulnerability and being willing to say I don't have this figured out yet. But you have to do it in a way that doesn't diminish the confidence that your client has in you.
Ooh, for sure. Yeah. They are hiring you and engaging you because you possess a certain amount of knowledge, experience, wisdom, insight, resources. And so you have to have that. But it's having a humility about yourself and a willingness and an openness. So you're right. It's a very fine balance. It can't be the blind leading the blind. Right. And so we do have to have our trainings and our experience, and we have to do the work to be good at what we do and not just talk about what we do.
Right. Yeah. And you can be vulnerable about not having a clue about a lot of things, but the important pieces of whatever you're coaching. It's like,
yeah.
I could show up in a live launch and drop markers all over and just be silly on camera. But when it comes to the work,
yeah, that's got to be, yeah,
yeah,
that's got to be dialed in. Yeah, because that's what people want, right? That's what they want. But there's so many people that I see, especially newer coaches, that think they have to have it all figured out, all put together, all built perfectly good from day one. And so it's not swinging to that extreme or the other, but it's remembering that there's that dance, that fine line that we can play right in the middle.
Yeah. And I think it's understanding where you need to show that your competence, where you need to show, where you need to be pro. And it's the piece that you're directly coaching on. It's the part that you really have to make, in my opinion.
That transformation that you're providing, the challenges that you speak to, the results that you speak to, that has to be dialed in, and you have to know that, how you navigate that. Each of us have our flair about how we bring our personalities to it and that kind of thing. But it's a fine line. It's important to know that.
Yeah. And so can you talk a little bit about pricing, and pricing from the perspective of people often having a hard time charging maybe what they're worth? Not price, but how to actually say your price with confidence.
So my little soapbox is that phrase, charging what you're worth. I think, and I apologize in advance if I offend you or anyone listening, I think that is a ridiculous phrase, charge what you're worth. Your worth has nothing to do with the services that you provide or the results that your clients get. So when that, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. What I do agree with is your prices should be in alignment with the transformation you provide. That should go hand in hand. so many people that I've talked to get caught up in the, well, I've got to charge what I'm worth. And they try to put a dollar sign on that. They're like, well, I have to charge $50,000. And it's like, no. That's maybe for a certain kind of product or program or package, and they get really tripped up about that. And your worth is, as a human, as a spirit, as a being, like, it's priceless. But the transformation you provide, make sure your prices are in alignment with that. So if you have an entry-level program that promises transformation ABC, the investment should correspond to the results that somebody's going to get. But if you have got a second offer and the transformation is XYZ and it's different from that first offer, make sure that that investment is in alignment with the transformation that people receive and the amount of support, resources, and experience that they have on the way to getting that transformation. And so I believe in result-based pricing. I don't believe in time-based pricing. I think time-based pricing is one of the biggest creators of our villains that's out there, right? Back in the 80s when coaching first started becoming an industry, and then the early 90s when it started gaining momentum, we had only we were in the information age back then, right? And so time for money, it was a natural thing. And there was all of these other entrepreneurs and practitioners that had that model. So we're like, okay, we'll adopt that model. But as we've evolved through the information age, the experience age, and in the results revolution, our pricing has to evolve with it. And we have to be offering result-based pricing for the experience and transformation people are going to get. You hit a hot button. I could go on about this topic.
So, Melinda, did I use that phrase? Did I say charge what they're worth? Did I say that?
That's how you, which is weird because I don't think I've ever heard you use that.
Yeah, phrase. No, I was struggling to ask a good question. Really what it was around because people, I think they play a comparison game a lot of times when they're pricing, which is natural, but they compare to the wrong things because I think it is comparing to the transformation.
Yeah. And Michael Maidens, he's an amazing at helping people to create an offer. And one of the things that he taught me is about reverse engineering. You start with what are the results, and then you back into what is it going to take to create those results? How much support does somebody need? And once you back out and reverse engineer that, that's going to give you an indicator of what kind of price tag you need to put on your package, program, event, or offer.
Right. And I think a lot of times people land on that number and then they lack the confidence to step into that number. Is sort of where that's where I'm going at.
Yeah. I see that. And that's one of the reasons when I teach result-based packages and result-based pricing, now it's not about them. They take the onus off of them. What do I have to do? What do I need to provide? How do I need to show up? And it's about what's the transformation the person's going to get? What's the experience the person's going to get? And when they say it's like, how can I be of service to them to have this experience? And so I find when we take the weight and attention off of ourselves and put it back to our audience and clients, the confidence is like, oh, I got this. I can talk about this all day long. But as soon as it's about me, then the confidence goes way down, which then that number goes way down.
Mm-hmm. And their comfort because at the end of the day, you have to, whether you're doing it in person or on Zoom or in a sales video or a sales letter, you have to ask for the order. You have to ask for the sale with confidence.
Yeah.
With some sense of assuredness.
Yeah.
And otherwise people are not going to step up.
Yeah. And I find that when it comes to pricing packages or whatever your offer is, one of the things that I think I talk about it in the book. I'm not sure if I do or not. Once you put a price on your package, whatever, if you start to get a lump in your throat and you have this sensation of feeling like you're going to throw up, you're in the ballpark of where you should be. And then it's just a matter of practicing saying it over and over and over and over and over again. And one of the exercise one of our coaches on our team has our folks do is whatever that amount is, she'll have them double it and practice saying that in some role-playing conversations. And then when they get to the actual price, it's like, oh, well, that's easy to talk about. So it's just practicing something new, exercising that muscle. But you want to make sure you have that little sensation of feeling like you might get sick. Then you know you're in the right ballpark.
Melinda, where can people get this?
They can go to confidentcoachbook.com. You can get the hard copy, paperback, Kindle version. The audio version is there as well. And we also have a toolkit that goes with it so that you can get the coaching business roadmap to success, which is what does it mean to be a business owner? What do you need to be paying attention to? We've got other resources there as well. So confidentcoachbook.com.
Thanks, Melinda. Any final thoughts as we wrap up that you want to share?
I think that in the world today, as we are attempting to come out of the pandemic or maybe stay in the pandemic, or I don't know what we're doing with the pandemic, but right now, one of the greatest being a coach, being that service-based entrepreneur, the world is like they don't know how to navigate all of this crazy chaos, fast changing times, and they're really turning to us. So really understand why your services are important, because that alone will help you increase your confidence to put yourself out there, and the rest you'll figure out, I promise.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you so much.